Yes, I do love you people. I got to bed about 3 this morning. I sent a text to Sandy, I'm here, don't sweat it, I'll see you in the morning. 7 o'clock, this boom, boom, boom starts happening. I get up, where am I? What city is this? I look out the window. There's a text from Sandy. It said, hey Joe, don't miss the 7 o'clock mega workout. You'll want to see this. What she meant to say was, you won't be sleeping. The group will wake you up. When you look out the window to see what army is taking over the world, you'll see Team Beachbody. So I drug my sorry butt out of bed. I got dressed and I went down to watch you people. And I shot 2 video blogs because you inspired the heck out of me. And I got to say one more thing. You people are a little freaky. So, guys, we're going to have some fun today. We're going to walk through, well, I say it's fun. We're going to talk about sales, and you guys are all excited about sales, aren't you? A lot of people look at sales and go, I don't know. But when we put it in context and do it right, this stuff is fantastic. It's what makes the world go round. And you guys are making a difference, and we're going to give you some tools today to help you build your business. Now, I've done this worldwide with a number of different companies, and I don't just teach this stuff. I'm an entrepreneur just like you. I've owned, in part or whole, about 20 small businesses. I love sales, and I love building businesses, and I love being part of businesses. And when I got on the phone with Jeff and Sandy, learning about what you guys focus on, and some of the challenges you face, they said over and over, we've got to have some tools for these guys that are simple, actionable, memorable, that they could walk out of here and dive into. So today, hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun as we do this. We're going to walk through some tools that'll be actionable, be memorable, and when you walk out of here, you'll have all the confidence in the world that you can do it. The theme of our focus is integrity, intent, and technique. Integrity, intent, and technique. And we've got some ends in mind that we want to focus on and achieve today in the next 75 minutes. Now, my belief is that you folks, all of you, to some degree or another, have achieved success. And when you think back to the reasons that you achieved success, it's because you spent 75 minutes somewhere in a keynote speech, right? It wasn't, was it? So this 75 minutes is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just the beginning. What really makes this stuff rock and roll is when you walk out of here and you put it to use, when you apply it. And I promise you, by the end of the day, I'll show you specifically some things you can do that should improve your business. I can't guarantee that it will. I can only tell you that I've used it with hundreds of thousands of people, and the feedback overall, generally speaking, is very, very positive. So we have a couple of ends in mind we want to focus on. Those ends in mind are we want to effectively grow Team Beachbody. Fair enough? Fulfill our mission, end the trend of obesity. We want to help others and ourselves to succeed, and a whole lot more. You all have goals, you've got a mission, and I applaud your mission. We're going to anchor on intent today. We're going to focus heavily on intent, and everything I teach you today must be done with high integrity. Okay. We're going to use techniques specifically to bump our success, to achieve success. If we use technique and it's not connected to integrity and intent, that's manipulation. That's not at all what we want to touch. We want effective technique that allows us to really make a difference in growing our business. So let's dive in and talk about a couple things specifically. We want to be able to approach, invite, and engage people effectively, professionally, and comfortably. Now, comfort for who? Is it comfort for us or comfort for them? Answer, yes it is. It's comfort for both. We want to be able to do this comfortable. There's a lot of people in this room that say, you know, I'm just not quite comfortable sharing the Beachbody opportunity. Well, let's see what we can do to fix that today. And there's other people that are saying, I'm just not quite comfortable when they share it with me. Let's see if we can remove some of those barriers so they can be comfortable, so they can be effective, so they can flow, so they can just feel natural. We also want to deal effectively with challenges that come up as we grow our business. So how do we do it? One of the main reasons, or one of the main tools we use is we have a story. We have our success story. We have great products. We've got great programs. We've got coaching. We've got support. There's a business opportunity for income, and there's more. And everybody here has a story. As I sat at breakfast this morning, I was able to overhear several people sharing their story. Hey, I lost 53 pounds. Hey, I was on high blood pressure medication. I'm off that now. My energy's higher. There's some pretty cool stories out there, and you can just feel the energy from you folks. And when I was out there watching you guys, shake the earth this morning, that was pretty cool too, because there's the story in and of itself. So we've got this great story to tell, and the good news is it's working. The team is growing. It's pretty cool. And we could grow it more, couldn't we? We could grow it more. We absolutely could grow it more. There is an opportunity to improve. Okay, so the question, can we improve? And the answer, absolutely. Always and forever we can improve. What we need to do is find some tools to help us do that. Here's a quotation that I'm pretty fond of. It's Eric Hoffer, and he said, in times of change, the future belongs to the learner, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world which no longer exists. Does that make sense? In times of change, the future belongs to the learner, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world which no longer exists. I want you to do a favor for me. I'd like you to fold your arms. Everybody, just fold your arms, get yourself comfortable, and then I'd like you to fold them the other way. There's a few people going like this. Hang in there, it'll come. Okay, how does that feel? Does it feel a little weird? Does it feel a little uncomfortable? What do you want to do? Do you want to go back to this? Yeah, this feels a little weird. We want to go back to mama because it feels more comfortable. Do this. Interlock your fingers. And then pull them apart. Do it again with the other thumb on top. Ooh, that just feels wrong, doesn't it? Now, I've done this exercise with literally tens of thousands of people. You people have no right to say that this is weird, because I watched you hold positions like this for 47 minutes this morning, and you didn't whine once. I'm just asking you to fold your arms backwards, and you're like, whining? Now knock it off. Okay, so here's the question. If this feels a little weird to do it the other way and fold our arms, it's an indication of something. It indicates that you're doing something you haven't done before. And you know what? That's a great thing. Because in times of change, future belongs to the learner. People who do things new, who do things differently that are not in their comfort zone. I think you heard some about that already this morning. You step out there, you do something you've never done before, and it feels weird. And your whole body says, wait a second, let's go back to what's most comfortable. But of all the people I've ever talked to, you people should be the most adept at doing new things. I mean, that was pretty impressive to watch you this morning. By the way, Sandy sent me P90X, and I'm going to start it. Okay? And I was going to start it a couple of weeks ago when she sent it, but she said, Joe, please don't start it. And I thought, now that's kind of weird. I said, Sandy, why not? She goes, hon, we need you to be able to walk on stage. So anyway, I get back. I've been on the road. I've been in Greece and Istanbul for the last 2 weeks, working with one of our largest clients. And I get home tonight at the end of 2 weeks, and in 36 hours, I got to be in Round Rock, Texas for a couple of days. So got some Round Rock folks, all right. When I get back from Round Rock, I will start the P90X. So remember this quotation, you must be the learner. We've got to do some things that have not been done before. Before we dive in specifically to the technique, I want to talk to you about one thing called intent. It's one of the title pieces of our program today. Intent counts more than technique. Intent counts more than technique. I want to grill you on that. Before you can ever get access to people's brains, before you can ever get access to their conscious thinking, you've got to pass a test. And that test comes down here. It's a little part of the brain called the amygdala. And it's a little teeny piece of your brain. We share this with other primates. It's a primitive part of our brain, and it simply does one thing. It scans all incoming data and checks it out to see if it's safe or unsafe. Safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe. That's all it does all day long. It even does this when you're sleeping. Safe, unsafe, safe, unsafe. If it matches a pattern and the pattern checks out to be safe, there's a free flow of meaning. Communication can happen. If it checks out a pattern and it's not safe, the amygdala says, hey, that's not safe, and then it makes a simple determination: fight or flight, fight or flight. And this is a big part of sales. People's perception of our intent influences how they respond to our communication. Now, I live in Utah, and in fact, not far from where Jeff grew up. He grew up in Payson, Utah, and I grew up in Spanish Fork. And yeah, you probably all heard of Spanish Fork. It's a small dot. It says welcome to Spanish Fork on both sides of the sign. So I've got that going for me. And it's a great place. I love Spanish Fork. I live on the foothills, which are the small mountains at the base of the Rocky Mountains. So I've got a nice view. I'm kind of on the edge of town, and I've also got some wildlife in my neck of the woods. If you walked into my backyard, the yard's flat, there's a fence. Step across the fence, and it's a steep grade, quite dramatic for, I don't know, probably 30, 40 feet. And then there's a river right there that flows through a canal, Spanish Fork River. Well, I was on the back side of the fence years ago doing a little bit of landscaping. I was removing some weeds and some brush that I wanted to clean up. And I walked up to a pile of brush that I wanted to remove, and I leaned over to pull these weeds out, and I found myself unexpectedly in the air, bouncing down the hill out of control. I couldn't tell you why I was in the air. I had jumped. It wasn't conscious. It just happened. I couldn't tell you what was in that pile of weeds. I could only tell you it was pure evil. That's all I knew. My heart's pounding about 100 miles an hour. Just before I went in the river, a tree slapped me upside the head and stopped me. I turned around to see if Bigfoot was bearing down on me. He wasn't. And I couldn't for the life of you tell me what was in that bush. My heart was just a pounding. Now, I'm looking at this going, what? I have no conscious idea. If you'd have put a gun to my head, I could not have told you what caused me to jump. I picked up some rocks. I threw them up the hill. Nothing came out of that bush. I took a branch off the tree. I worked my way back up from the side, carefully worked my way closer. I pounded the bush a few times. Nothing came out. I got closer, parted the grass, and sure enough, right there in the middle of that bush was a big old frickin' 3-foot snake skin. And yeah, that sucked. To my brain, what was that? An absolute snake. Now, where I live, there are rattlesnakes. I've never seen one in almost 20 years living there, but they exist. So here's what happened. I walked up, I parted the grass. My brain, my eyes see a snake skin. My amygdala matches a pattern, says that's a snake. Let's see, safe, unsafe. That's unsafe. Okay, Joe, we've got a choice here, fight or flight. You suck at snake fighting. We're going to take flight. So they hit the button, and I'm bouncing down the hill. Now, here's the question. I want you to think about this. Is it possible that some of the people you've approached to talk about Team Beachbody, their amygdala has matched a pattern and a big voice in their head screamed, "Snake!" Can that happen? It happens. Now, I live in Utah. I know a little bit about network marketing. Just a little. I've been approached between 200 and 300 times, and the approaches that I've seen that have come towards me, and they haven't been Beachbody, but they've been others, have been less than serving me, and they've caused some resistance. That's one of the challenges you must overcome. Intent counts more than technique. Your intent has to be crystal clear. Otherwise, the amygdala says this is not safe. These people are selling me something. Intent counts more than technique. You must create success twice. First, in advance, okay? You've got to understand clearly your intent and your objective. You can't fake this. You can't just say it. This is something that has to permeate your being. Be sure that your intent serves the best interests of both parties involved. And the paradox is this: you will be most successful when you focus on the success of others rather than focusing on yours. Now, this morning, just at breakfast, listening to some of the stories, one of the coaches here, I'm not sure where you're at, But he said, you know, my business became more effective when I really started to focus on the other person's success. And I'm telling you, I've heard that story thousands of times. When you focus on other people's success, you become most successful. Visualize success, hear success, feel success. Your success is hinged to their success. Get your intent crystal clear, because all these techniques I'm going to show you are secondary to your intent. Your intent must serve the other person. We don't just want people to join. We want them to join and succeed, and for the right reasons. So we've got to help that come about. Whose story are people most interested in? Theirs or ours? Yeah, it is. It's their story. I sat next to a marketing professional years ago, and I wished I'd have written down this line because he wrote it beautifully, or he stated it beautifully. We were talking about marketing, and marketing is all about generating interest, and sales is all about generating revenue. Now, I'm more of a sales guy. I understand marketing. I work with marketing, but I'm more sales, revenue generation. And he was marketing, and the two of us work very well together. And we were talking, I said, so what's the magic to getting people to read advertising copy? He said, dude, I could get you to read 100 pages of advertising. And I thought, wait a second. Advertising doesn't interest me that much. And he said, oh yeah, it does. If the top of every page said, the insight, desires, and wants of Joe Thomas, you'd read 100 pages. And I went, yeah, you probably got a point there, because I'm kind of interested in me like you're kind of interested in you, like they're kind of interested in them. So when you think about it, whose story do we talk most about? Do we say, hey, let me tell you about Team Beachbody. It is so cool. Let me tell you about P90X because it's exciting. We've got Shakeology, and there's a new flavor today. But wait, that's not all. There's a business opportunity, and you can earn income. And I know there's a handful of people, if not most of you, saying, been there, done that. And we talk about us. We say, let me tell you the story. It's exciting. It's great. The people are great. It's fun. It's like a family. We have so much fun. We're going to Vegas next year. And we talk about us. And then after 15 minutes of that, we go, okay, enough about us. What do you think about us? Okay, laughter is confession. Okay, so that's a problem. Laughter is confession. And if that's what you're doing, you got to back up a little bit, because you know what? They're much more interested in their story, and you got to stop. You got to hold that stuff hostage. I'll tell you a quick story about someone I consider to be a great salesman. He sold me my rain gutter. Now, where I live is Utah, as I mentioned, and if you don't manage rainfall in the winter, it can be a problem. So most of the homes, if not all of them, have rain gutter. Well, I moved into my house. My wife and I built this home about 18 years ago. And as we moved in, my contractor and I were talking. We both realized we'd forgotten the rain gutter. We kind of built the house together, and that slipped through the cracks. I said, hey, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. I moved into my house, opened up my yellow pages because I didn't have internet, and I called these 6 vendors that sold rain gutter. 3 of them never responded. Of the 3 that did respond, one of them showed up sometime, somewhere, somehow, measured the house, calculated a bid, and taped it to the front of my door. That is not sales. Proposals don't sell. Emails don't sell. Brochures don't sell. People sell. Okay, effective persuasion is through people. Okay, it's through the team concept, which you guys are set up wonderfully to do. The second guy picked up the phone and called me, said, hey, sorry, I'm a little late to get back to you. You wouldn't happen to know the measurements, would you? I said, hang on, I said, dude, tape this thing. Yep, I got them right here. Blah, blah, blah. He gives me a bid. That also is not sales. He's got an interesting strategy. Don't actually go out and do the work. Wait for someone else, and then cut your price by $50. He was $50 lower than the other guy. Now, at the end of the day, rain gutter's just rain gutter, isn't it? You know, products are just products, and network opportunities are just network opportunities. The third guy calls me up and says, I'd like to make an appointment when you'll be home so I can come out and give you a proposal. I said, great, how about Friday, 9 o'clock? He said, I'll be there. Friday, 9 o'clock, he shows up. I meet him at the door. I said, dude, I could save you some time. The house was just built. I got the blueprints. I got the measurements. He said, Mr. Thomas, I really prefer to measure it myself. That way I can see the project and know if there's anything unique about it so I can give you the very best job. I like that. He does his drill. He measures the whole thing. About 20 minutes later, he's sitting out there in his truck calculating a bid. Now, there's one thing that he has that I want. One thing that he has that I want, and that's the proposal. Why? It's the magical third proposal. And when we get to the end of that third proposal, I can pull the trigger and get my rain gutter. He comes walking up to the front porch. I meet him there. He's got in his hand the thing I want. I put my hand down. I said, well, I'll take a look at your proposal and let you know how you did. I really appreciate you coming out. And he literally took the proposal and went like this. Now I'm going to tell you something. I like this guy. This is a sales guy. And he said, Mr. Thomas, if I gave you this proposal, you'll just look at my number, compare it to your other numbers, and pick the low one. And a big voice in my head went, duh. And then he added some magic words to that, and he did it with real intent. He said, Mr. Thomas, I'm not sure that'll be in your best interest. Has he got my attention? Absolutely. He says, would you be willing to give me just 5 minutes of your time in exchange for this bid so we can talk a little bit about rain gutter? He's got me. I want that. I need that. Yes. He puts it in his back pocket, the dirtbag. And then we walk over to my neighbor's house, and he proceeds to talk with me, and he asks me, and we dialogue back and forth about rain gutter. In the end of 5 minutes, I knew more about rain gutter than I ever thought I would want to know. But he did it in a way that connected back to me, connected back to my story. And when he finished this whole thing, in the space of 5 minutes, he had me asking some questions, and he put the bid in my hand, and he said, Mr. Thomas, I want this job, and I will do a fantastic job for you. And when you consider the bids that you've got, keep in mind, and he rehearsed the couple of things that he'd pointed out to me. Now, where do you think his bid was? Yeah, you're right. It was the highest bid, and who got the job? He got the job. In the space of 5 minutes, he convinced me of the value that was there because it connected to my story. And by the way, he made my neighbor's house look like complete crap. So, interesting stuff, and I'll give you a second part of this story. Fast forward about 15 years, my wife and I did a little remodel on the back, needed some new rain gutter. Guess who got that job? Same guy. He comes out to the house, shook his head, and said, dude, I've been telling stories about you all over the world, what a great salesman you are. And he goes, oh, I'm no salesman, but I noticed your downspouts have some dents from the kids' bikes. Do you want me to swap that stuff out while I'm here? And I said, dude, just take my money. And you know what's weird is he bumped the sale up, and I felt good about it. I felt good about it. We want people to join Team Beachbody and feel great about it and succeed in it. That's what it's all about, okay? So we've got to be able to talk about their story, and there's a technique that we need to learn. How do we discover their story? You know, do we just know it from experience because, hey, we've been on the team for 2 years now? Or do we ask? Do we know their story from experience, or do we ask? And I'm going to tell you, we need to ask. Guessing is absolutely dangerous. We need to ask. Imagine, if you will, that I'm your doctor. You have a large cut on your leg, and you know darn well you need some stitches. You hobble into my office, I stop you at the door, and I say, let me tell you what you need. You need an anti-inflammatory. This drug rocks. You'd think I'm an idiot. And when you push back on me, I could say this, no, listen, I'm telling you that drug rocks. Do you see the plaques on my wall? Check those out. I'm board certified. I've actually forgotten more about medicine you'll ever know. Okay? You could push back again. I go, no, listen, I see people come and go day in and day out. My experience tells me what you need. None of you would like this doctor, none of you would patronize this doctor, and all of you would look for another doctor. Now let's change that scenario a little bit. You come hobbling into my office, I stop and say, what's going on? You say, well, I got a cut on my leg. So let's take a look. Yep, you do have a cut on your leg. You're gonna need some stitches, and tell me how it feels. Is there pain here? Do you feel a tingle there? Wiggle your toes, move your ankle, put your foot, put some weight on it. And I run you through a series of questions and inquiries so that I can learn your story. And when I finish, I should be able to express back what you're experiencing equal to or better than you can. Actually, I can do it better in many cases because I'll make you aware of some tingles and some numbness prior. And if I finish and I said, you know what? You do need some stitches, and before I stitch you up, the best thing we could do is get that swelling down. It'll maximize, absolutely maximize your chance of 100% recovery. I'd like you to take this anti-inflammatory. Same prescription, and yet, what's the difference? This one you'll readily take. This one you will take with enthusiasm. And this one you'll feel great about it. And what's the difference? The difference is it was in context of your story. If you tell people about this great thing called P90X, Team Beachbody, Insanity, Shakeology, this business opportunity, and it's not in context of their story, you are that doctor saying, no, listen, I'm board certified, check this out, blah, blah, blah. So we got to put it in context of their story. We must understand their story from their perspective, and they must know that we know. It is not enough that we know, they must know that we know. Here's the first technique we're going to teach you. It is called move off the solution. Now remember, every technique I show you today must be in context of intent. We have to have the right intent, and that intent is to help them succeed. So the first thing we're going to do is learn how to move off a solution. Solutions by themselves do not have value. P90X, Insanity, Shakeology, the business opportunity are all worthless unless they can solve a problem that a person recognizes they have or create a result that the person recognizes they want. And so the trick is to move off the solution. People oftentimes will bait you into the wrong conversation. It's like putting this big marshmallow out in front of you and saying, hey, can you tell me about P90X? We go, oh yeah, that's my favorite story. Wipe the marshmallow off your mouth, okay, put that back. Now, I'll give you a homework assignment. Go on YouTube and type in marshmallow experiment. It was done in the 60s. They put marshmallows in front of 4- and 5-year-olds, told them they could have 2 if they could just hold out till the person came back. And then they left these poor kids alone for 15 minutes with their marshmallow. And of course, 70% of them ate the marshmallow. Those that didn't held on and got 2 marshmallows. Now, the key to the story was that study, they're actually still doing it. It's still going on today, and the children who had the emotional maturity to postpone that immediate gratification, the ones who held out and got 2, are more successful in just about every measure they throw at them. So there's some interesting stuff. You can YouTube that and see some of these videos. Don't eat that marshmallow. They ask you to talk about P90X, don't do it. Hold it hostage, just like my rain gutter guy. Move off the solution and find out what's their story. See, they'll have possibly several problems they want to get rid of, which might be high blood pressure, overweight, or low energy. They might have some results they want. They want a better looking body. They might want to be ripped. They might want more energy, and a combination of all these. Don't talk about the solution. Talk about the problems that they want to solve, the results they want to achieve. Okay? Here are some examples. And by the way, we put on your chairs some scripts. Okay, you have this exact thing on your chair. So if a client, or I shouldn't say client, if a potential team member says to you, hey, tell me about this Beachbody thing. Now, can you hear yourself real tempted to jump in? Don't do it. Hold it hostage. Hold that back. And you're going to say something like this. Hey, I'd love to. What are you most interested in? We just turn that around and ask them. I'd love to tell you about it, and what are you most interested in? Because I could talk about P90X and Team Beachbody for the next 3 hours. In fact, we could do a workout together while I talk. No, don't do that. So don't do it. Move off and say, let me focus my comments to what you're most interested in. What are you most interested in? Or we could say, where should I begin? When you say Beachbody thing, what exactly does that mean? So they say, hey, I know you're involved in P90X. Is that even doable for an average Joe like me? And it's tempting to go, oh, yes, let me give you the raw pitch of why you can do it. Whose story are they most interested in? Their story. So stop telling yours, go to theirs. Hey, define doable. Or, sounds like you have some concerns. Can you share them with me? Or, what have you heard about the program? This turns it around, and now who does the talking? They do the talking. And whose story are they telling us? Their story. They said, I'd like to know more about Team Beachbody. I said, great. What piqued your interest? You have the rest of that script. These are the ways that you get off the solution and talk about their story. What about, now those previous examples right there, those are all when we initiate the when they initiate the conversation. If they come up to us and ask us. Now the tougher thing is when we go to ask them. I put the next 3 examples in here for you. This is a technique called leading statement, and by the end of today, I'm going to cover it again. We're going to come back to it. Let me show you how this works. This is about leadership. It opens up some new possibilities. This is if we want to open up the conversation ourselves. We could say something like this: I would love to talk to you about P90X, and I recognize that for you to be interested, you would have to be looking for, now you fill in the blank. It's either the problems they're likely to want to get rid of or the results they're likely to want to achieve. So I realize for you to be interested, you have to be wanting to get more energy in your day. I'm curious, is that something that interests you? And if they're interested, we can continue with inquiry. If they're not interested, we're going to change it, turn around. And in some places, it's just not right for them. Let's not waste their time or ours. We could say, hey, I'm excited about what I'm doing with Team Beachbody. And I just want to tell everyone, of course, for it to be of interest, people would have to want, and you fill in the blank, from your best educated experience. And then ask, is that something you're interested in? We could say, would you be interested in getting involved with me and Team Beachbody? They say yes, no, maybe. And our response is, what would you need to see or experience from us that would convince you there's value for you, that would let you know there's something of interest for you? And again, this is all about getting their story on the table instead of just ours. What do ogres and onions have in common? Layers. So Jeff and Sandy said, Joe, you got to find something that'll be easy for people to make this stuff stick. So I've chosen a little bit of a Shrek theme today. So we've got some pictures in there. And I'm going to teach you a technique called peel the onion. This is the second technique we're teaching you. And again, I'm going to remind you, you've got to be focused on intent. Intent counts way more than this, so the intent's got to be right to make this technique really shine. People have layers. Learning and understanding, you've got to learn how to navigate these layers. 3 simple tools that you can remember that are going to help us get through this. And those tools are CEO. Think you can remember those 3? CEO. Okay? If you'll remember those 3, you'll be able to navigate and learn people's stories. Okay? CEO. This is a technique called peel the onion. So let's start this thing out with C. C stands for clarify. And clarify, which in your script I gave you a couple examples, and actually, if you look at that script that I handed out to you, you'll see we've got clarify examples, we've got expand, explore, examine examples, and we have outcome examples. That's our CEO. When somebody makes a point, they say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about P90X. That's a point. If you want that point to be bigger, clarify. When you say learning more, what do you mean? You know, when you say P90X, what have you heard? You can expand the point that they've started with just by turning around and inquiring a little bit more, inquiring a little bit deeper. So that C will make the point get bigger. Now, if you choose to, you can move around that layer of understanding. You can say what, when, how, who, where, which. I went through that real quick. These are examples. Those are all in your handout on clarify. So once you get clarify, what else is there? Expand, explore, examine. Expand, explore, examine allows you to learn more specific details. So you could say what, when, where, who, how, which, could we, should we, is there, are there. There are hundreds of these inquiries, and each of them allow you to learn a little bit more about this particular layer that they're on. If someone says, you know what, I'm got a point in my life where I'd like to just do something different. It's tempting to say, oh, come join our team, but we're not going to tell our story. We're going to stop and say, when you say different, what do you mean? And they say, well, you know, I'd like to be more active. I just don't have the energy I had when I was a kid, or when I was younger, or 10 years ago. We say, okay, well, what was that energy like? And what would you like the energy to be now? And where would you use the energy? And we just learn about it. So you make an inquiry. You hear the response. Make the next intelligent inquiry. Here's some examples of this stuff. They might say something like, my life's just too hectic. Tell me more about what's going on. What makes it so hectic? When is it most hectic? And again, you have each of these examples in your handout. This will take you around that particular layer. Let's go to the next one. C and E are really powerful, and you will really understand, and they're not enough. This last one is O. An O is absolutely, in my opinion, powerful. It's called outcome. These will take you deeper. They'll take you to a new layer, okay? So ogres have layers, and this is how you get to the center of that, not that those people are ogres. So O is an outcome question, and it looks something like this. They say, hey, I'd like to lose some weight. We could say, so what would that do for you? Or you could say, if you lost the weight that you wanted, what would that give you that you don't have now? And the idea is it takes you one layer deeper, and And the key to this whole onion, if you will, is it's all about motive. If you can get a little bit deeper, you touch motive, and the deeper you get, the more motive you touch, and the more motive you touch, the more motivation they will feel. And whose motivation? It's all theirs, because it touches their motive. It's all about their story. Of course, all this has to be done with real intent, and again, you have each of those examples. So CEO is clarify, expand, explore, examine, and outcome. Okay, clarify expands on the particular point. E moves us around that layer of the onion to give you a little more detail, and then O takes you deeper, which if you choose to, you can expand, explore, and examine. You can clarify along the way, and you can again go deeper. There's some point where you can't go any deeper, and I promise you, you'll know when you're there. Okay? So the most commonly used of these things is the expand, explore, examine. What, when, how, who, where, which. The next most common is probably something around the lines of clarify. And the least common that I've found in my experience is the O, the outcome, and possibly the most valuable is the O, because it takes you deeper. Now, let me see if I can make this CEO click just a little bit and stick for you. I was working with, I'll share with you two stories. I was working with a group in Albuquerque, New Mexico at Sandia National Labs. And I don't know if any of you know what Sandia National Labs, they're involved with the nuclear weapons programs for the U.S. The folks in this room, some pretty bright people, and I would say pretty heavily left-brained. Like when they walked down the hall, there was a slight stagger. So really, really bright folks, highly educated, absolute blast to talk to and intimidating in some ways. So in this room, male-dominated, so there's all these guys and two ladies. And these two ladies, I got to tell you, were absolutely impressive. They were just sharp as tacks. And we were working on a team mission statement, which was very difficult because a mission statement is something that's kind of a right-brained activity. It requires some imagination and creativity, and again, that's not their forte. So we're working through this. Now, this is a group I was working with for about almost 2 years. So this is part of a large process. And to make the team mission statement work, we took them back to do a personal mission statement. And I'm looking around the room. Everybody is just doing the drill, and they're working on on their personal mission statement, writing out their goals and the things that they want to achieve. And I looked around, and one of the two ladies is absolutely hating life. I mean, you can just see she's just dying through this exercise. And I walked over and said, "Can I do anything to help you?" She goes, "Oh, I hate this exercise." I said, "I can see that. I mean, do you need a gun? What?" Okay, I didn't say that. But I said, "Can I help you in any way?" And she said, "Yes. Yeah, here, read my mission." Now, I've read thousands of mission statements, and I love to read mission statements. They're inspiring. I often find material in their mission statements to swipe and put in my own. This mission statement was possibly the least motivational mission I've ever seen in my life. Here it is. I committed it to memory. My mission is to save up for and buy a boat within 2 years. Yeah, get the gun. That sucks. No, I didn't say that. But it's just so simplistic, and it's not even close to what I've seen in most mission statements, and she is just, "Hey, that's all I want." I said, "Would you mind if I ask you some questions?" Now, whose story do I want to discover? Her story, exactly. So I said, "Could I ask you some questions?" She said, "Sure." I said, "Okay, what is it?" And by the way, I've got the option to clarify. I could say, when you say boat, what does that mean? Are we talking, don't laugh. These are great questions because you can't assume that you know what they mean. Are we talking party barge or ski boat? Are we talking plastic for the tub? I mean, it could be a number of different things. So don't guess, ask, because when you ask, they can tell you in context of their story. So I said, that's an option. I can ask, when you say boat, what is that? I could also say, where do you boat? When do you boat? I can go around that. Expand, explore, examine. Now, I was in a little bit of a pinch because of time, and I had other people with their hands up. So I said, let me just ask you real quickly, and I went for O, outcome. So what is it about a boat? What does a boat give you that you don't have without it? She paused, and she said, that's easy. To me, water is spiritual, which of course clears it right up. Now, there's an opportunity. When you say spiritual, what does that mean? And I could learn a little bit about that. And what makes it spiritual, and what activities do you do, and tell me more about it. It's all an option. Because of time, I had to go a little quicker. I said, okay, great. So water's spiritual, and the boat gives you access to water. What does that spirituality give you? If you have that access, that time, what does that give you that you don't have without it? She paused. She thought for a second. She said, okay, look, when I'm in the water, I'm with the people that matter most. I'm with my family, with my spouse, my children, and the people who are so close to me, they're technically family. I said, great. Now, again, I could clarify. I could ask, expand, explore, examine, how many kids and what are their names, and tell me about your spouse and what you do, blah, blah, blah. Because of time, I had to use the next O. And I said, okay, so this time in the water with this family, with these people that are most special to you, having that time gives you what? And she paused, a little bit frustrated with me, and she said, I don't know how to make you understand. Look, my dad took my family to the lake every single weekend. Whether you wanted to go or not, you went. And over all those years growing up, my relationship with my mom and dad is like that. Absolutely rock solid. And it's that relationship that's the foundation of my entire adult life, because I wanted to quit 1,000 times. And it was my parents believing in me that let me just keep pushing on, and I'm in the job of my dreams. I love what I do, and I'm making a contribution. And it's because my parents believed in me. And she's giving me this sermon that is just passionate. And she goes, and I want to give that to my kids. And I paused and said, okay, let me see if I got this. What you're telling me is you want to have a relationship with your kids, patterned after what your parents had with you, in order to set your kids up to be healthy, happy, successful adults. If I got that right, she spun around in this chair and she goes, that is exactly what I want. And I smiled and I said, is that different than a boat? She goes, oh, all right. Now, I'll tell you the rest of that story. I came back about 15 minutes later, and she goes, how's this? And her mission statement absolutely emotionally moved me as I read it. And I said, can I have a copy of this? Because I want to steal some of these lines. Because that's the kind of parent I want to be. Absolutely compelling. Now, let me ask you this. Her motive and her motivation to get a boat, did it go up, down, or stay the same as a result of this dialogue? Up. Okay, and I can tell you unequivocally it went up, because at the end of this whole deal, I said, okay, now you're crystal clear on your mission. What are you going to do about it? She goes, I'll tell you right now what I'm going to do about it. And she left my class. That wasn't what I expected, and I thought I'd lost her, but she was the first one coming back from break, and I said, what? She goes, I just rented a boat for the weekend. Now that's awesome. Okay? You want to help people find motivation, you've got to tie to their motives. How do you find their motives? C, E, and O. Be patient, relax. And they may, along the way, say, well, tell me about this Beachbody thing. Just say, your story's more interesting. Keep talking. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. I want to make sure it's in context to what you're telling me. And as you learn their story, then you can come back with the elements of the Beachbody story that fit exactly what they need. Because if it's not something they need, it's noise. If it doesn't tie to their story, it's noise. Okay? CEO, CEO, CEO. This can also help you as you move off that solution. You know, what are some of the problems? Clarify that problem. Expand, explore, examine the problem, and find out what the outcome is when they have that problem. When they tell you about a result they wish to achieve, they want to be more fit with more energy. Clarify specifically what that is. Expand, explore, examine the details of it, and what's the outcome if they get it. Because when they say, well, you know, if I had more energy, I would. And lo and behold, more energy means I'm more productive. When I'm more productive, I make more income, and I get more things done. I get more things done, I feel happier, more content, and all these things. And the more they feel that, the more the motivation goes up to act. And when motivation goes up, people move forward. It's one thing to be motivated and do something on a moment of excitement and passion. It's another thing when it's tied to my story, because my story won't go away very quickly. It's sustainable motivation. Does CEO make sense? Okay, good. So clarify, clear up, capture this stuff. Expand, explore, examine, and then outcome, outcome, and outcome. The most important of those three questions in my experience is the outcome, because it's the toughest. Learn that one, master that one, and see what happens, see what you learn. You'll learn some interesting and fascinating insights to people. Their stories are all incredible. So think about the inquiries you make. Your understanding is going to depend on those. Listen carefully to their responses, and don't get lost in preparing for your next question. Because one of the challenges is this. You'll walk out and you'll start using CEO. You'll make this really great question, and you'll inquire, and then a part of your brain's going to go, that was so good. And you're going to pause and go, it was, wasn't it? And you're going to walk over and high-five yourself inside your brain, And if you're over here preparing your next inquiry, where are you not? You're not over here understanding what they're telling you. So don't listen with the intent to reply. Listen with the intent to understand. Intent counts way more than technique. Intent counts more than technique. Is this stuff sinking in? I had to find a way to use that graphic because it's the coolest picture in the whole deal. So during the course of the conversation, you may hear a familiar voice. This voice is in your head, and it comes from your memory and sometimes your imagination. It is the voice of Donkey, and he says, pick me. Pick me, pick me. Oh, I know, pick me over here, pick me. Have you all seen the movie Shrek? Okay, so Shrek walks out. Does anybody know where this Farquaad guy lives? And Donkey starts bouncing, pick me, pick me, pick me. I know, I know, I know, I know. Oh my gosh. Well, that happens inside your brain, and let me tell you, that's one of the biggest obstacles to really understanding the people you're talking to really understanding their story. Because you walk out there, and they say, tell me about P90X, and Donkey starts bouncing, pick me, tell him this, tell him you met Tony personally. And you're wanting to tell that story. Don't listen to Donkey. Put him in his cage and shut him up. To quote Shrek, sure he talks. It's getting him to shut up that's the trick. Okay, that's the trick to this whole deal. So just relax for just a second. I'm going to ask you a couple of simple questions. You just think of the answers. What color is a snow-capped mountain? White. What do cows drink? Milk. What do cows drink? Yeah, cows drink water. And how many of you thought milk? Why? Okay, so look, now put your guard up. Here's another one for you. What do you wear on your feet? Shoes. How many of each animal did Moses put on the ark? 2. How many of each? Yeah, Moses didn't put any animals on the ark. It was Noah. But here's what happens. Your brain matches a pattern so quickly, and Donkey starts bouncing, pick me, pick me. So I say, what color? And Donkey's going, colors over here. We've been doing colors since crayons. You go, okay. And you run over here in the land of colors, and the question isn't even finished. Is a snow-capped mountain? It matches. Donkey says, white. Say white. It's white. What do cows drink? And you're still in the land of colors. And the only thing that connects white cows and drink is milk. And then you're like, wait a second. The people you talk to, they throw these things out. Tell me about. And you jump in and you start to talk about P90X or Shakeology. Or you start to talk about the opportunity. And if it's premature, are they interested? No, you got to hold that stuff hostage until you can put it in context of their story. Don't get sucked in by Donkey. Keep him in his cage. Okay, watch out for that voice. And it is ever present. Now, as I describe that, how many of you are familiar with Donkey? Yeah, he's in there, right? And it's tough because we got this exciting story that we want to tell. And the discipline is to hold that thing hostage and say, you know what, I'm not going to waste your time. I want to make sure that I understand exactly what you need so I can tell you the parts of it that make sense. Because if they're not interested, if they look at the extras and go, you know, it's just over the top, I can't quite do it. But you know what? I think I could do some of it. I think I could achieve this level. Then you could show them how the program can be adapted. And Tony says, you do what you do. You don't do more than you're ready for. You do what you do. And that's the part that they're going to want to hear. And that's the part that as a coach, you can coach them to. Because not everybody's going to be to the same fitness level as a Tony. And that's okay, isn't it? Absolutely. As long as we're moving in the right direction. And it's, so watch out for Donkey. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Don't let that face fool you. That face is deception right there. Don't listen to it. Donkey, we only share details about the Beachbody story when we can do so in context of people's needs. We first diagnose, then we prescribe. We seek first to understand, then to be understood. Is that fair? Okay. And trust me, Donkey will be okay. Okay, so 3 tools. CEO, you got them? C stands for? Clarify. E stands for? Send, explore, examine. And O stands for? Outcome. Focus on those, practice, and it won't be as easy as you think, but practice and you will have it. Okay, what about challenging conversations? What happens when you bump into those really awkward things that are tough? What do we do with those? Now, there's a number of techniques, and guys, we had such a short amount of time, I had to pick just a few that we could nail real quickly. One of them's leading statements, I'll show you that, and then we've got two more, which is share your confidence and statements of intent. I'll show you how these work. Express your intent, share your confidence, and leading statements. Express your intent and share your confidence are like communication boosters. They can boost any conversation that's challenging, that's difficult. There's a little boost to the conversation. Express your intent and share your confidence. And then as the last one, leading statements, I'll give you specifically some details on how you can use that. So this is express your intent. All pushbacks, all challenges that you hear coming from potential team members are a test of your intent. And sometimes it's helpful to just express yours. So they say, look, I'm not sure this is for me. You could say, listen, my only intent is to help you. Or, my only intent is to give you some options so you can make whatever decision is best for you. Or, my only intent is to understand if there's an opportunity for both of us to be more successful. It's a little boost to the conversation. It's a safe zone. They push back, we express our intent. They say, I've never been successful with network marketing. I mean, I've tried this several times. I got a garage full of crap. You say, listen, my only intent is to have a discussion where we both understand the options and then determine if it makes sense to move forward or not. And either way is perfectly okay. My intent is here to serve you. I'm not here to sell you. So express your intent. They say, I just can't afford this. My only intent is to have the opportunity to consider, is for you to have the opportunity to consider Team Beachbody. And then make whatever decision is best for you. Whether you join us or don't join us, I want what's best for you. It's a little boost to the conversation. It's a safe zone, and it can deal with some of these challenges. Now, from there, CE&O can play into that. Move off that solution, talk about their world, their story. Express your intent. All pushbacks, objections are tests of intent. Sometimes help to express that. So remember, these are just examples. You want to put these in your words, in your style, polish them so they're comfortable for you. You can also share your confidence. This can be compelling and often help people that are having doubt. So if someone says, look, I just don't like network marketing companies and pyramid structures. Your confidence could look something like this. I'm confident that Team Beachbody will stand up to any scrutiny. I'd be happy to walk you through the numbers, the history, and anything else you'd like to see. This company is strong, sustainable, and very much different than traditional network marketing companies. Now, beyond this, and you'll notice in your notes on this particular one, then you must move to inquiry. You don't want to sound defensive. You're just a statement of confidence. Listen, I'm confident that we've got a great structure that's very different than most of the network marketing companies out there. And it doesn't matter what I say. What would you like to see or experience? How can I share with you something that would be meaningful? Because at the end of the day, if it isn't meaningful to you, you shouldn't do it. You're totally relaxed. They say, listen, I've tried some meal replacement drinks, and they tasted awful. You say, listen, I'm confident we could find a recipe that you'd love. Of course, what are some of the flavors you love? So you turn it and you end with inquiry. Does that make sense? So statement of confidence can be very powerful. It can be compelling, help people get over doubt. And again, focus on this with real intent. Okay, leading statements. This is the part I wanted to get to. I showed you a quick sample of this earlier. This is a powerful tool, and it's especially powerful when you're facing people that have a closed mind or a fixed position. This is when you hear never or you hear always. Okay, that's just a key indicator that you may want to use this. It's when you get a pushback that says, I would never do network marketing, or, man, I just can't see myself doing that much exercise. So when somebody gives you a response like this, that's coming from the left side of their brain, it's a decision they've made previously. It's from their memory. So it's logged in here, I would never, or I would always. And what you want to do is get them to the right side of their brain where they can consider something different. And a simple way to learn this is two key words, only and if. Only and if. So you say something like this. They say, network marketing is something we would never do. So the only way it would make sense to even consider network marketing is if you were confident you could succeed and that success would serve your needs. Is that fair? I was in a program recently, and I just asked participants, can you give me something you'd never do or always do? And the lady goes, I'd never eat sushi. I paused, and the look on her face was pretty, she communicated quite well. I said, okay, the only way I could get you to even consider choking down a piece of wet, slimy fish is if there was some compelling reason, like, say, $1,000. She goes, oh, I'd do it for $1,000. I should have started a lot lower. So But look at the point. I would never eat sushi to, I'd do it for $1,000. Just that quickly, she's considered it an option. I had a guy at a more personal level, and he stopped and he said, I'll tell you something I'd never do. I would never leave my religion. Now, I had to think for just a second. I said, so the only way you could even consider making a change that was that personal and that important to you is if, in your heart of hearts, you knew it was the right thing to do. He paused. He said, yeah, in that case, I guess so. Now, think about that. You know, he'd have to have some real major things lined up for him to consider something that big. And yet, he would consider it. But the point is this, when you throw these statements out with some education and some preparation, a person says, oh, it's just not for me. So the only way you could even consider, and then you have to fill in some logic based on experience, because you know what? There are people that are already part of Team Beachbody that have overcome the obstacles that many of these people are facing right now. They just can't see it as an option because they're stuck with an old decision they made sometime in the past, and it's fixed. So the only way it would make sense is if. And then you've got to fill in that blank with some credibility, with some expertise. They say, look, I just don't think I can afford it right now. The only way you could feel comfortable investing in this is if you could feel absolutely confident that you would get greater value out than you put in. Does that seem reasonable? And most people, well, yeah, so how are you going to show me that? That's the discussion we want to have, because then we can move into C, E, and O. So leading statements can be very powerful, and again, this is all technique. You just have to practice, practice, and practice so that it's comfortable. It won't take you long to do this. Reading through those scripts, not difficult to do. Practice, practice, again, write them out in your own words. Practice delivering these things, even practice in the mirror. So the only way this would make sense is if, and you fill in the blank. So, is this making sense of how to find their story? How to open up some new possibilities? So you got a handful of tools here that we can walk through. And again, all of this stuff hinges on practice, practice, and practice. And it really hinges on understanding our client, understanding our prospect, our potential team member, our neighbors, our friends. It's all about understanding these people that we talk to because they all have a story, and they're far more interested in that story than they are in our story. So we learn to hold our story back, hold it hostage, inquire, and then when we bring the Team Beachbody story, it's designed precisely to the needs that they've expressed that they have. And if we do that, it's in context of their motives. Their motivation is higher, much better odds of getting them to join and be part of it, and much better odds of them being sustainable. And that story doesn't stop. This isn't a one-time thing. This is a process we do over and over and over. So these examples are all just scripts. Change them, modify them, make them work for you. If you look at this last slide here, as you gain confidence in each of these, you begin to use them. It can be powerful. Practice, bring this into reality. If it doesn't feel right or if it isn't comfortable, change it. Modify the language to fit your own personal style and your own reality. Our intent from 95.5 is to give you effective tools that are simple enough to be actionable. We're confident these tools can be effective if applied correctly and with real intent. And of course, the only way it would make sense for you to commit the time necessary to mastering these skills is if you felt you'd be better off using them than you are without them. And as you notice, that statement right there, there's all three of the techniques woven in there. And even though that is technique, it's sincere. We sincerely want you to be effective at this stuff, and for many reasons. One of those reasons is simply this. You guys have an awesome mission statement. You really have an awesome mission statement. I personally resonate in many ways to your mission. I owned a diabetic treatment clinic for a number of years because diabetes is such an ugly disease. And I was treating people at the tail end of that, the tail end of their lives, in fact. And I'm passionate about wiping that thing out. And you guys are on the front end of that, preventing it, which is cool. And when I look around and I travel worldwide, I hope this doesn't offend anybody, Americans are fat. And we've got to stop it. And you guys are out there doing it. So, since January, I've lost over 20 pounds, which is kind of funky. And Sandy tells me when I kick into P90X that I'll just be a feather floating around. So anyway, and it's amazing the energy level and just the benefits. And I wasn't obese or super obese, but I was 20 pounds heavier than I needed to be. And I look around, I sat in the airport on a couple of conversations talking with Beachbody, and as I'm listening to this mission, I'm looking around going, oh my gosh, their mission encompasses a whole lot of people. And that's not a pun, okay? I just meant that literal numbers, not just the fact that there were big people in those numbers. But, in airports, you're looking around, and it is the majority of people. You guys have such a powerful mission to get out there and affect people, and it's such a great mission. You guys need these tools. Now, again, this is just a start. Practice this stuff, coach each other, help each other, get really good at this stuff. Our ends in mind today, to effectively grow Team Beachbody, so we can fulfill this awesome mission, so we can help others and help ourselves. It benefits us because it keeps us sustained and moving and motivated. It also benefits us from the income standpoint. And none of this means anything unless it's tied to strong intent, and we do it all with integrity. All these techniques are secondary to high integrity and strong intent. Our intent is to serve and help other people succeed, and we do it honestly with integrity because we don't have to do anything else. If we do it that way, we'll be effective sustainably, and it lasts. So approach, invite, engage people effectively, professionally, and comfortably. Has your comfort level gone up a little bit in approaching people? Show me your hand if you think you can do that a little more. Okay, that is awesome. And then deal effectively with challenges. You got a couple of tools to deal with that. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm Joe Thomas. It's joe.thomas at NF5, which is 95.5. And our name, everybody asks us what that is. We're not the radio station. 95.5 is we're trying to boil everything down to the 5% that makes the highest and best leverage use of your time, to focus on that 5 that really is leveraged. So if I can help you in any way, email me. Absolutely thrilled. Your team behind you, Sandy and Jeff, I got to tell you, over and over communicated, this team is awesome. They just need tools. Give them the tools, they'll knock down the world. Give them the tools, they'll knock down the world. So thank you for your time. I hope this is helpful and hope to see you again. Thanks, guys.